What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel, IGTV, YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and follow. So for today's video, I'm going on a little different topic than normal. Not necessarily related to credit, but this is more so related, I guess you could say, at least how I would classify it, just sort of like an economic, social economic topic. And this has to do with the welfare system in the United States. And so I just wanted to share my thoughts on it and, you know, just identify some of the things that I've witnessed and experienced. So just for disclaimer, I actually did as a child, grow up under, I guess you could call it, it's a form of Section 8. So it was basically like a housing voucher. And so the housing voucher works. I guess it's a little different in different areas. Where I'm from in Maryland, it's not necessarily like, you're in like a housing project. So they give vouchers, and basically the vouchers can be any landlord that accepts or is a part of that program can accept the voucher, and they get the bulk share of the monthly payment, rent payment from the government, and then the tenant would, I guess, just contribute a small portion. And I didn't know at the time, like I knew, that we were paying rent. My folks were paying rent, but I didn't know like how little of amount it was, So I guess it's based off like the number of children you have and like how much how much income you make to really determine, you know, how much of a housing voucher you can get. So if you have a bigger family, I guess you could qualify for higher amounts and, like a bigger, a place with more bedrooms and bathrooms and stuff like that. So, at the time, I wasn't really aware of just how the whole system works, the ins and outs and stuff like that. Um, but then later on, as I became an adult, I learned more about it. And so one of the issues that I see with it, and mind you, this is someone coming from the perspective of someone who actually, lived on, the Section 8 housing and, food stamps and stuff like that to, and then even so, like I started working when I was 15. Um, I'm about to be 32 in March. So I've been working for more, the majority of my, my life so far. Um, and, I've been financially independent, since then. Like I haven't asked, my parents haven't given me a single dime, anything since I first was able to work when I was 15. So like everything that I have now, I paid for myself, I worked for. So, when it comes to just, paying off my education to, all my cars I purchased, my home, all my belongings, all the money that I've invested in my businesses, all that's come from my own hard work. So I just wanted to sort of give my perspective on the welfare system as, from I guess kind of having an inside look at it. And what I've noticed is that, it's probably one of the worst government programs, I would say, to, really just impact the African American community as well as other communities as well. And the reason why I say that is because what I've noticed is that it most of the people who are on welfare, and a lot of times, you think it's, you know, disabled, mentally ill. I mean, that's true to a certain degree, but, I've just personally seen a lot of people who are able-bodied adults, they could go focus their energy on other non-productive activities, but as far as doing productive things that are going to build wealth or, just even provide for themselves, you know, there's no incentive for them to do it. So the welfare system de-incentivizes people to actually get up, go work, go start a business, whatever, because generally most people, at least, people I know who are working people, they get up every day, they drive in traffic, they're doing all of that so that they can provide for themselves because, there's no safety net, for those people who are, going out and, striving for themselves. But, when you provide someone with housing, food, you're basically covering the most essential necessities, which what I'm saying, it's not a terrible thing. I'm not saying anything like that. Like people need a roof over their head, people need a housing, but the system has definitely been abused. So I know personally people who have been on Section 8 welfare food stamps for 3 decades. So my initial understanding was that it's supposed to be a temporary program for you to, get back on your feet, start working and stuff like that. So it's kind of just like a transitional, stage because, you're not getting, you're not receiving the best quality of, service as far as like housing, from welfare or even food stamps. Like they give you a specific amount of food stamps, and you're supposed to survive on that for the month. So it's not like you could basically eat as good as you want to. You know what I'm saying? Like you're basically limited to what the government is actually giving you, which to me is terrible because why would you want to put a cap on how well you could live? And generally, with the Section 8 and all that, you're not going to be in nice neighborhoods with nice schools. You're going to be generally in a concentrated area of poverty. And one of the worst things being in those types of environment is that everyone is on survival mode because there's very limited resources. So, the environment that's created from these welfare programs, it's just not the most conducive, environment for, good living and things like that. But I think even more so, like the worst thing that comes about it is, like I said, it kills motivation. People just get complacent in, being given, you know, basic, these bare essentials. Like they don't strive to, build businesses, own real estate instead of having landlords. And what it's doing is, it's breeding an environment where people are extremely dependent on the government. They don't know how to go out here and do basic things, pay taxes, start businesses, build their credit, invest in real estate, invest in other assets. They don't know how to take care of themselves, and that's what it's creating. That's the biggest problem, is this dependency. People are dependent on the government to basically hand feed them instead of learning, how to maneuver out here in society and create for themselves and actually just, create value. You'd be surprised how many people would, just basically stay at home all day, doing whatever, playing video games, watching, sit in front of the TV all day long, or, doing drugs or whatever, So, I mean, just from what I observed, like there's no reason why someone should be on Section 8 or welfare for decades, not 1 decade, not 2 decades, but, 3 decades. I mean, that's, you know, uh, a large percentage of most people's lives, 30 years, 25 years, when if it was intended to just be like a temporary program, now it's just become a lifestyle. And it's very sad because there are a lot of able-bodied people with, who knows, with a ton of potential, but for whatever reason, got caught up in the welfare system. And after that, it's a wrap. And one of the worst parts about this is that, this sort of mentality is passed on to younger generations. And so while other cultures are passing along fortunes and businesses and assets and stuff like that, the next generation, of other cultures are going to be, much better and well off, but if you're just passing along, welfare and dependency, as time goes on, that gap's only going to get wider. That wealth gap's going to get wider, and it's just not a good thing overall. So that's all I really wanted to share about, my perspective on, this particular socioeconomic topic. The welfare system in the United States. Let me know what your comments are in the comment section below. Until next time, y'all take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.